It was a sunny Saturday morning in Chicago, and Emily had a lot on her to-do list. She was planning a small dinner party for her friends that evening, but she needed to do one important thing first: go to the grocery store. Emily was still getting used to shopping on her own. Since moving to Chicago for a new job, she had been learning how to handle her day-to-day activities, like cooking, cleaning, and of course, shopping for groceries. Today, she decided to head to her favorite store, Greenfield Market, a small but popular grocery store just a few blocks from her apartment. "I hope I don't forget anything this time," Emily said to herself as she grabbed her reusable bags and made a list on her phone. Let's see: eggs, milk, bread, vegetables, chicken, pasta. As Emily walked to the store, she enjoyed the fresh air and the warm breeze. Living in Chicago was exciting, but also a bit challenging for her. Emily was from a small town in Indiana, and while she spoke English fluently, she often felt nervous about making mistakes or not understanding certain phrases in her new city. But today, she was ready to practice. When she arrived at Greenfield Market, Emily grabbed a cart from outside. The store was busy with people, and the aisles were full of fresh fruits and vegetables, meats, snacks, and all the items she needed. She smiled to herself, feeling a bit more confident. Emily pulled out her phone to check her shopping list. First on the list, eggs. She pushed her cart toward the dairy section, carefully looking at the labels. She saw several kinds of eggs. "Why are there so many choices?" she whispered to herself. Large eggs, organic eggs, free-range eggs. Emily had learned about different types of food, but sometimes the choices were overwhelming. She decided to pick the large brown eggs since they were on sale. As she continued down the aisle, she spotted milk. There were also many options: whole milk, 2%, skim, and almond milk. Emily remembered that one of her friends was lactose intolerant, so she added almond milk *** to her cart. Next on the list was bread. Emily loved making sandwiches, so she wanted to get a good loaf of bread. The bakery section smelled amazing, and there were so many fresh choices. "Should I get whole wheat or white bread?" she thought. After a few moments, she decided on whole wheat bread, thinking it would be a healthier option. As Emily was trying to find the pasta aisle, she bumped into her neighbor, Ben. Ben was holding a basket filled with fruits and vegetables. "Hey, Emily." Ben greeted her with a smile. "Are you shopping for something special?" Emily smiled back. "Yeah, I'm having a little dinner party tonight. I still have a lot to buy, though." "That sounds fun. Do you need help finding anything?" Ben asked. "Actually, yes," Emily said. "I'm looking for the pasta aisle, but I can't seem to find it." "It's just down this way," Ben pointed. "I'll show you." Emily followed Ben, and they chatted while walking through the store. Ben had lived in Chicago for a few years, and he loved the local grocery stores. He knew where everything was, and he even gave Emily some cooking tips. "Are you making pasta for your dinner party?" Ben asked. "Yes, I thought it would be easy and everyone likes pasta," Emily replied. "Good idea. If you need any help cooking, just let me know," Ben said. "I'm a pretty good chef." Emily laughed. "Thanks, I might take you up on that." Emily felt more relaxed after talking to Ben. With his help, she found the pasta quickly and grabbed a box of spaghetti. She also picked up a jar of marinara sauce to go with it. Now she needed to get some fresh vegetables for a salad. She walked to the produce section, where she saw bright red tomatoes, crisp lettuce, and colorful bell peppers. Emily loved how fresh everything looked. She put some romaine lettuce, cherry tomatoes, and a few cucumbers in her cart. Just then, she remembered she needed chicken for the main course. She walked to the meat section and looked at the different types of chicken. Should I get chicken breasts or thighs? Emily wondered. She decided on boneless, skinless chicken breasts, thinking they would be easier to cook. Finally, Emily picked up a bottle of olive oil and some spices for the pasta dish. She felt proud of herself for remembering everything on her list. Emily pushed her cart to the checkout lanes, feeling satisfied with her shopping trip. As she waited in line, she noticed Mrs. Johnson, one of the cashiers, was working at the register. Mrs. Johnson was a kind woman in her 60s, with short gray hair and a big smile. She was always cheerful and loved talking to customers. When it was Emily's turn, Mrs. Johnson greeted her warmly. "Good morning, dear. Looks like you're having a party tonight." Emily smiled. "Yes, I am. I'm making pasta and salad for my friends." "That sounds wonderful," Mrs. Johnson said as she started scanning Emily's groceries. "You've got everything you need here. Are you a good cook?" Emily laughed nervously. "Well, I'm still learning. I'm hoping everything turns out okay." "I'm sure it will," Mrs. Johnson said kindly. "Cooking is all about practice. The more you do it, the better you get. And it looks like you've got some great ingredients." Emily nodded, feeling a bit more confident. As Mrs. Johnson finished scanning the items, she told Emily the total cost. "That'll be $42.50. Emily pulled out her debit card and swiped it through the card reader. After the payment went through, Mrs. Johnson handed her the receipt. "Thanks for shopping with us, Emily. Have a great party." "Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. Have a nice day," Emily replied, feeling happy as she gathered her bags and headed for the door. When Emily got home, she unpacked her groceries and started preparing for the dinner party. She washed the vegetables, marinated the chicken, and cooked the pasta. As she worked in the kitchen, she thought about how much she had learned from her shopping trip. "Maybe grocery shopping isn't so hard after all," she said to herself. She realized that even simple tasks like going to the store could be a great way to practice English and learn new things. Emily's dinner party was a success. Her friends loved the food, and she felt proud of her cooking. But more than that, she felt proud of how much she had grown since moving to Chicago. She was learning to navigate new situations, make new friends, and most importantly, become more confident in herself. Shopping at the grocery store might seem like a small thing, but it can teach you a lot, especially when you're learning a new language. Just like Emily, you can practice your English in everyday situations, whether you're at the store, the post office, or even just talking with neighbors. The next time you go to the grocery store, remember to take your time, read the labels, and don't be afraid to ask for help. You might find that you learn new words, meet friendly people, and even improve your cooking skills. And who knows, you might even make a new friend, just like Emily did with Ben. After all, everyday moments are a great way to practice and grow. After the success of her dinner party, Emily's confidence grew. She realized that even simple activities like shopping were opportunities to improve her English and life skills. As she cleaned up after her guests left, she thought back to all the small conversations she had at the grocery store and how each one had helped her in some way. The next morning, Emily woke up feeling motivated. She decided to visit the grocery store again to pick up a few items she forgot the day before. This time, she wanted to be more observant and practice her English even more. As Emily walked to the store, she decided to challenge herself. "Today, I'm going to ask a question about something I don't understand," she thought. Even though she knew she could find most things on her own, she wanted to practice speaking more and improve her confidence. When she arrived at Greenfield Market, she noticed a few items on sale near the entrance. There were large signs that said things like "Buy one, get one free," and "Save 20%. While she understood most of the signs, there was one that confused her. It read, "Manager's Special, $1.99 per pound for produce bags." What's a manager's special? Emily wondered aloud. She had never heard the term before. Maybe it's a special discount that the manager chooses, she thought. Deciding to find out for sure, Emily headed over to one of the employees stocking shelves in the produce section. The employee, a young man named Carlos, was arranging apples when Emily approached. "Hi, excuse me," Emily said politely. "I have a question about the sign over there. It says Manager's Special. What does that mean exactly?" Carlos smiled and nodded. "Oh, that just means it's a special deal for today, chosen by the store manager. It's usually a lower price on something we want to sell more of, like these produce bags. So today, they're cheaper than usual." Emily smiled, feeling proud of herself for asking. "Thank you. That makes sense." "No problem," Carlos replied. "Anything else I can help you with?" Emily thought for a moment. "Actually, yes. I'm also looking for quinoa. Do you know where I can find it?" "Sure. It's in the grains aisle, right next to the rice." "I'll show you," Carlos said as he guided her toward the correct aisle. When they reached the grains aisle, Carlos pointed to a section of shelves filled with various grains and seeds. "There it is, quinoa. It's pretty popular now because it's healthy and gluten-free," Carlos explained. Emily had heard about quinoa before, but had never cooked it. She decided to give it a try, so she grabbed a small bag and added it to her cart. As she thanked Carlos again, she realized how much more comfortable she felt in the store compared to her first few visits. Emily noticed that she had learned a few new words during this trip, like Manager's Special and quinoa. She mentally added them to her growing list of vocabulary. After finding everything on her list, Emily made her way to the checkout line. Once again, she saw Mrs. Johnson working the register. It seemed like Mrs. Johnson was always happy to chat, and today was no different. "Good morning, Emily." Mrs. Johnson greeted her as she started scanning the items. "Back again already?" "Yes," Emily laughed. "I forgot a few things yesterday. Plus, I wanted to try quinoa. Have you ever had it?" "Oh yes, I love quinoa," Mrs. Johnson replied enthusiastically. "It's great in salads or as a side dish. I like to cook it with some vegetables and a little lemon juice. Very tasty." Emily smiled. "That sounds delicious. I'll have to try that." Mrs. Johnson finished scanning the groceries and packed them into bags. As she handed Emily her receipt, she gave her one last piece of advice. "Don't forget, the key to cooking quinoa is to rinse it well before you cook it. It helps get rid of the bitter taste." "Thanks for the tip," Emily said, feeling more confident about her new ingredient. When you go shopping, try to read the labels and understand the different options available. Don't be shy about asking for help in English. It's a great way to practice speaking. Make a shopping list in English before you go to the store. It will help you remember new words. Pay attention to the conversations around you at the store. You can learn a lot from listening to how people talk in everyday situations. Happy learning and happy shopping.